AG fans, GojiFan93 here, and welcome to day 27 of Godzilla-thon 2014. Today we will be taking a look at Godzilla against Mechagodzilla. Alright, so, we are down to the last 3 movies until the new film comes out. Oh my gosh, guys. I'm getting kind of tired, but, alright, here we go. Godzilla against Mechagodzilla. This is one of my favorite movies in the Millennium series, just because it has it just has really good action scenes, and this Kiryu, also known as Mechagodzilla 3, is actually my favorite Mechagodzilla incarnation. Not just because it was the bones of the original Godzilla, but just because well, I'll get into that later. So anyways, another reason why I love this film so much is the human story to it. Actually, I love the human characters in this movie, and I love the storyline that goes along with it. It's actually a very deep movie. It just like on both sides, you get a really good human story and really good monster fights. So obviously, this film is trying to be another reboot or some kind of film where it's like, okay, you know, the 1954 film was the original, and this is, you know, then it starts here, everything else in between is forgotten or whatever. But I kind of, like I said in my previous one, I'm trying to see if I can connect each Millennium film with each other, and I kind of came up with the thought of, okay, well, in Mechagodzilla, Godzilla got sucked in the black hole, right? Or at least, you know, they thought he did, but apparently he didn't. But, like, let's say that he did, and then the GMK Godzilla came, which, you know, was the spirit, souls, or whatever, stuff like that. And obviously he got blown up and his heart was remaining at the end of the credits. So what if Godzilla regenerated and turned into this Godzilla? But I know that's like really far-fetched, and that's really stretching it, because this film is supposed to be a direct sequel to the 1954 film. It's supposed to be the reboot. It's not supposed to connect with anything else. But what is interesting is that in this movie, they actually use some stock footage from Mothra and War of the Gargantuans, where they actually are talking about, you know, ever since Godzilla, we've been attacked by other monsters. It's like a curse and stuff like that. So that's pretty interesting how they connected it with some Showa films, which I thought was pretty nice. But yeah, the human characters are really awesome. The main female protagonist, her name escapes me, but she's really good. The character has an awesome story arc. You know, she starts out as like, what happens is, it's kind of like what happened with Mechagodzilla. She was the main protagonist, and she made a mistake, or, well, this time it was a big mistake, where she like turned the tank. They were like shooting at Godzilla with maser tanks, and she turned the tank when her friends were backing up because Godzilla hit a cliff and rocks were falling it, so her friends were backing up the car so that they wouldn't get crushed. But what she ended up doing, she freaked out and she turned the tank and it hit the truck and it fell off the cliff, and then Godzilla stomped on it right in front of her. And so she, ever since that, she just became this closed, shut off from everybody, and she was, you know, she's just regretful of everything. She thinks everything was her fault and all that. But she has an amazing story arc where she, you know, she starts out as that, and then she turns into this very how do I want to say, a very cheerful person. You know, at the end, she's still kind of, you know, well, I hate Godzilla, because, you know, the ending shot is really amazing. But I'll leave you guys to watch that for yourselves. But yeah, I love the main character. She's awesome. The supporting cast is really good as well. Every character is very well fleshed out. I don't know, I really like the human element in this movie. It's just really good. Like, you actually care about the characters. And then Godzilla's badass as always. And then Kiryu's really badass. So obviously Kiryu, what they decided to do was, because they couldn't figure out what to do on how to take out Godzilla, they're like, okay, well, let's get the bones of the original Godzilla and make a cyborg or a robot out of him. And which, once again, this is kind of changing up the formula. And I wanted to know what it would have felt like to be a Godzilla fan when this film was being made, how the fan reaction was when they found out that that it was the bones of the original Godzilla. I wondered, like, how it would be. I bet a lot of fans were probably like, you know, two ways. Some fans were probably like, oh, that's amazing. Other fans were probably like, but also, it's kind of weird, though, is that if you do watch the original film, you can clearly see that Godzilla bones, like, they disappear. But in this one, they're saying that they stayed there, they picked it up, and then they made him. But yeah, it's a really cool idea. It's a really cool origin story for this. You know, they're keeping Mechagodzilla fresh, obviously because, you know, once again, Mechagodzilla is made from humans, not from aliens. So now we have two Mechagodzillas that are made from humans. So in order to make Kiryu stand out from Mechagodzilla 2, they had to give him some different kind of origin, which is really cool. Another thing is that in his chest plate, he has the awesome weapon known as the Absolute Zero Cannon, and it basically shoots out absolute temperature, zero temperature, and it freezes everything automatically, like right away, and then it just shatters it. So that was their plan, is to freeze Godzilla and just shatter him and deal with him that way. But, you know, obviously things don't go well, and when Kiryu first fights Godzilla, since Godzilla still, or the original Godzilla still has some DNA in the robot, when Godzilla does his roar, it actually triggers Kiryu, and all of a sudden Kiryu just goes back to primal, like, oh my god, I remembered I'm Godzilla and I gotta destroy things and stuff like that. So so Godzilla retreats, and then Kiryu, all of a sudden his eyes, they start to glow red, and he just goes on a rampage. And what's funny is, like, they say, like, well, shut him off, what do we do? And they're like, we can't do anything, and like, we have to wait till his, you know, basically till his batteries run out or whatever, until he can't function anymore. Because that's the one downfall about Kiryu, is that he actually has a time limit. I think they said he has like 2 hours of battle time or something like that. So that's kind of, you know, what are they working on? Are they working on AA's with this guy? Are there AA batteries that they put in him? Is that how they make Kiryu work? I don't know. But so they have to wait till Kiryu runs out of energy, and they say, like, you know, oh, there's like an hour left, and they can't do anything. So basically they have to sit by while Kiryu just destroys stuff for an hour. And I love the line from one of the, like, programmers or whatever. She's just looking up at the commander. She's just like, God help us. And it's just like, yeah, definitely, you're gonna need it. But yeah, so, you know, there's also the soundtrack is really good. We get the composer from Godzilla vs. Megaguirus back, so it actually has the same kind of soundtrack of Megaguirus with the whole boom 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 boom, and it's really awesome. That soundtrack is just awesome. But they do add a few new. There's some new tracks in it. But overall, it's a fantastic soundtrack. And the other thing that I want to talk about is, like, the reason why I love this film more than Tokyo SOS is because this is the first Godzilla film where it's just Godzilla and Mechagodzilla. There's no other monsters interrupting this. Because think about it. In Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, he had King Caesar with him. In Terra Mechagodzilla, we had Titanosaurus interfering with Godzilla Mechagodzilla. In Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2, we had Rodan interfering. But this time, it's finally just Godzilla and Mechagodzilla duking it out. And the final battle is so awesome in this movie, because rather than it being, because some Godzilla movies, especially the Heisei series, does this a lot, where it's mostly just a standoff where they're just shooting beams at each other, and there's not really a lot of close combat. But in this one, I mean, man, both Kiryu and Godzilla just go in close and just smack each other. They're doing, like, all these cool moves. I mean, like, Kiryu stabs Godzilla in the arm with, like, this arm blade that pops out. Godzilla, like blows his fire breath at his arm and then kicks him in the gut. I mean, it's just like the moves and the choreography that they did in this movie is just awesome. I love the fight scene in this movie. It's just like it's awesome. I love it. Yeah, but that's pretty much all I got. I mean, it's kind of, you know, you just gotta see it for yourself. It's a really good movie, and I know a lot of people say that it's a lot of fans consider it to be not the strongest in the Millennium series, and I can see that, and I can see why Tokyo SOS might be a little bit stronger, because this film was more of a setup for Tokyo SOS, because Tokyo SOS is a complete sequel to this. But in my opinion, I just like this one more just because it's more focused with Godzilla and Kiryu, because in Tokyo SOS, Mothra has to come in because she always wants to, and you know, it kind of, I don't know, it just makes things even more complicated. So this film is just a simple monster bash classic Mechagodzilla movie, and it's just awesome. I love it. So if you haven't seen it, highly recommend go out and watch it. It's awesome. And I think actually they're starting to resell this DVD at Walmart along with all the other Blu-rays and re-releases that they're doing. So yeah, highly recommend getting this movie. But that's pretty much all I got for this one. So thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned for tomorrow for Godzilla Tokyo SOS, and I'll see you guys then. Stay big, G fans.